Alright, you guys, in this tutorial we're going to be using a program called Audacity. It's a free open source program that anyone can download to their PCs at home. Just like you would use Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop to edit an image, well, Audacity is a sound editor. You can edit clips and add effects to different tracks. Alright, let's get started. To open Audacity, you're simply going to click on your Start menu, and then if you don't see Audacity visible at this time, just click on All Programs, and it will not be inside of one of the folders. It's in alphabetical order, so it's about the fourth application that you see or program that you'll see. When you open Audacity for the first time, there won't be any open AUP files. AUP is the native file format for Audacity. Instead, you're going to see an empty canvas here. There aren't any tracks visible. Before we import or open a sound file, let's just review some of the common tools that we'll be using in this program. First, you have the pause button. The triangle is where we play, and you can also hit space to make things play. The square here is where you're going to stop the audio sound, or you can use the space bar. And then you have double arrows to allow you to rewind to the very beginning of the track or fast forward to the very end. And then finally you have the circle, which allows you to record, and this is a great way to record narrations for maybe a radio advertisement, or if you're doing like an open mic type thing. Okay, just make sure you perform a mic check before any use of your microphone. Alright, a few additional tools that we'll be using appears in this little toolbar right here. The selection tool for Audacity looks like an I-beam or a lion bar. This is what you're going to be using to highlight portions of the track to create a clip. We'll also need the time shift tool. This will allow us to move portions of the track. You may need to use the draw tool if you're trying to mark portions of it, but it may not be necessary. Multi-tool mode, that's something that we may or may not need to use. Moving over here to the right hand side, we will definitely need to use the scissors. This allows us to cut. A lot of people confuse the scissors with the trim audio tool, but in a few minutes I'll show you the difference between the two. If you need to copy a portion of a track and even paste it, here are the icons to do so. Control C and Control V will also work in this program. Next to the trim audio tool, we have the silence audio. So maybe I don't want to get rid of a portion of a track or create a different snippet of that track and turn it to its own clip. Maybe I just want to silence it so that the wavelengths, aren't auditory, I guess. If you make a mistake, you can undo in this program. You can also hit Control Z, or you can hit redo. And then you'll definitely need to know how to zoom in and out of your track. We're not going to be looking at cute little wavelengths that the curriculum shows us. They're going to look a lot, more detailed than that. Alright, so there's two ways that you can bring a sound file or an audio track onto the Audacity window. You can go to File Open, or you can scroll down to Import. Now, if I use File Open, it's going to open each audio file in a different Audacity window. So for that reason, I'm going to scroll down to Import and over to Audio. Alright, so this is a folder that I have with random sound files that we've used in different projects. I'm just going to scroll down to, let's use the school bell. Alright, then you're going to click Open. The next thing you're going to know is the visual representation of sound, which we call in class a waveform. A few things we want to look at before we do anything to this track. Notice that you kind of see two sets of waveforms representing the sound of a school bell. This lets you know that this is a stereo sound instead of mono. Remember, mono is kind of like a two-dimensional graphic, and then stereo is kind of like a three-dimensional graphic, whereas it has form. So a stereo sound gives the illusion that sound is coming at you in different directions, kind of like going to the movies or sitting inside of a surround sound theater. Alright, there's a number of different things we're going to do to this clip. First of all, let me play it so that you all know what it sounds like. I'm going to use the play button. You can also use the space bar if you like. And that's a pretty lengthy bell, so I'm just going to stop it. You can hit spacebar, or I could have clicked on the little square right here to stop that sound. Now, you can't really see all of the crests and the troughs and the amplitude, so I'm going to go in and zoom in just a little bit. All right. Notice that I zoom in. There was about 1 second or 1.5 seconds where there was like no sound at all. And you can kind of tell that there are no peaks in this waveform. It's kind of like a flat line. So I can do a number of things with this area. I can select it and I can cut it. I can select it and trim it, or I can silence it, but it's kind of already silent. So what I'm going to do is actually cut it. When you cut, you're actually removing the selection, whereas if I were to choose trim audio, I would be removing everything not selected. So let's cut it this time. Notice that it will move the remaining track or the remaining clip to the start position up here at the timeline. Once again, I'm using this I-beam as my selection tool, and when you select a portion of the track, make sure you are actually inside of the track and not up in the timeline trying to select. You can't do it that way. All right. The other thing we need to do is shorten the sound of the bell. All right. So if I select this part, I can either hit trim and it'll get rid of everything else, or I can select all of this and keep scrolling all the way to the very end and cut the remainder. Before I cut or trim anything, let me first of all play it and get a feel of how much of this school bell sound I like to keep. All right, so there's a few different places you can track like the time to see where you want. I could have looked at the timeline, or I can check down here at the bottom at the select start and end to get an idea of how many seconds. If that was moving a little too fast or you couldn't really figure out where you want your stop position to end, then zoom back out so that you see more of your timeline. All right, so the little magnifying glass with the minus symbol in it to zoom in. And so now you see the entire track. Let's play that again. All right, I think 2 seconds is all the time that we need for this bell. So you can either select the portion of the track that you do not want and hit cut, or I can select 0 to 2 seconds and hit trim. Either way, you'll achieve the same thing. All right, so this is what we have now. Now, if you're working with multiple tracks, which we are about to do, you can mute one track at a time, if you just want to focus on another. You can also collapse this track by clicking on the little arrow, or you can just go to the bottom of the track and shrink it to make room for additional tracks or clips. Just like that. And I'll leave it right there. Notice it's letting you know that this is a 32-bit sound. We're working with a stereo clip instead of a mono. Here's our unit of measurement right here. We're at 44,100 hertz. And then you can use the sliders here to adjust the volume at which you want this to play back. And this is the left side and then the right side, the output. All right, let's bring another track onto this Audacity file. We're going to go up to File, and we're choosing Import because we're working on the same document. And let's scroll over to Audio. All right, this time I'm going to pick an MP3 file. Let's see. All right, this song was pretty popular a year ago, so let's choose this Uptown Funk song. And you'll click Open, and it will appear in just a few seconds below the existing track. If I want to, you can click on the little arrow next to the the track name, and you can move this track up if you like, or change the order of it, kind of like layers in Adobe Illustrator or Flash. And you can collapse this track as well, or you can simply click on the bottom of the track, okay, and slide it up or down to shrink the height. All right, this track right here is a lot more intricate than this one right here. It's still stereo, so it sounds like the audio is coming at you at different locations. Let's do a few things. First of all, I want the school bell to ring prior to this sound coming in. So let me just zoom in a little bit. Not that much. Okay. I'm going to select this track down here. Okay. And if you double click, it'll select this entire track. And I'm going to use my time shift to move this down a little bit. Now notice that as I move this to the end of the previous track, you're going to see a yellow snap guide. Bam, there it is. This is letting you know, let me do that again so you can see it, that this track now begins where the previous track ended. All right, so let's rewind to the very beginning, and I'm going to play what we have so far. Not bad for our first little mixer thing going on here. All right, so another thing I'm going to do really quickly, right now I'm using an entire track of this song right here, and according to the fair use, remember you can only use but so much. So really quickly, I'm just going to zoom, let's see, out some, ooh, maybe not that far, and I'm going to select everything after about, I don't know, 45 seconds of this track, just so we can have less to work with. So selection 2, and I'm just going to select all of this, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut it. I could silence it, but there's no need to increase my file size if I don't have to. All right, so now let me zoom back in, and let's rewind to the very beginning. Here we have the school bell. It's kind of like, okay, we're about to get something started here. Then we kind of lead into our tracks right here. I'm going to quickly do a little voice narration. Now, unless you have a microphone headset, then this little feature right here, the record, auto record, is not going to do any good. But I'm going to record, and you have to be at the stop position. Okay, cool thing about Audacity is, as you're recording, it'll actually play unless you mute it what else is going on in your track. So I'm just going to do a little audio. Here we go. At it again, DJ Natasha Deese puts out another great hit of the century. Alright, so that's all I could think of at this time. But here you have my voice recording. I'm able to listen to when I want to start it. I can go back in and silence this, because even though I wasn't saying anything at 0 seconds till about 2, it does pick up, you know, the white noise. So let me just show you quickly how you can silence. I don't really want to trim or cut it because I do want this to begin where it is. So I'm just going to select this area here and choose silence audio, and it'll flatline all of that. Okay, so let me play from the beginning. At it again, DJ Natasha Deese puts out another great hit. All right. After trimming and cutting and applying a few effects such as fade in and fade out, changing the pitch just a little bit, and adding a little bit of reverb, this is what we have. Alright, if I plan on editing this track some more, I would definitely suggest you go up to File, Save Project As, and AUP file. This means you can edit this in Audacity. But if you're finished with the final project and you're ready to submit it, you're going to simply choose File Export. Okay, disregard that. And you're going to choose either Wave, which we use primarily for sound effects, or you'll be choosing your where is it at? MP3. And then you hit save.